What up, y'all? I know not everyone feels like listening to a 40+ minute poll plans video for the month, so I broke it up to abbreviate my thoughts in a more easily digestible way. I know half of y'all, though, ain't subscribed, so go ahead and do that. Like the video, leave a comment with what you think about the upcoming content and your plans as well. And if you want to see the whole video, I'll be providing a link to that as well. Check that out for sure. Thanks a million, and now let's get into what you're really here for, alright? Kurasame Lost Chapter, probably one of the more hype banners of this month, and for once, I actually have no brakes to put on this train. Kurasame is coming back. He's not getting a rework, but he is getting LD boards only. His LD boards give him a slight attack up. It increases the number of hits on his LD attack, so it's still 1 HP attack unfortunately, but it's got more hits. And he gets a free skill use afterwards. Whether it's practical to use it on C65 or not, I don't know, and I don't think I really care, because no one's really running Kurasame in their party for this, except for the dedicated people, but most of us normal humans are using them as a call, but I'll get into that later. Also with his LD boards though, he gets Party Ice Enchant. This was unexpected. I remember at the time when this came out, I honestly didn't expect him to get this, but he did. He gets Party Ice Enchant, so he's now a full-fledged Ice Enchanter up there with Celas and Onion Knight. He gets a weak damage up as well, which is also really good. And he also gets a personal weakness damage up. So Kurasame is hitting a lot harder personally, which brings him more in line with the current content, which is actually really good. Now for his calls, and this is really the meat of it. And I want to preface this by saying I'm not huge on pulling for calls. I think it's generally overstated. That I think it's a bit of a meme pulling for calls, unless there's some outliers like Jack. But Kurasame, I would say, is probably the #1 call in the game. Even to this day in JP, full stop. There is no competition. This is quite literally, in JP, a lot of us, we build our teams around Kurasame's call. Like, we get our stuff together and we're like, all right, Kurasame call, now what? That is how impactful this is. I know everyone who missed out on it in JP regrets it, full stop. Unless you're bugging. I don't know why you'd say that, but this is, I feel confident saying this is literally the best LD call in the game. Kurasame has debuff start, right? So when you call him in, he applies his HP damage up debuff. His base call, it gives a ice enchant to the caller, and it also applies an extra stack of his HP damage up buff, which is okay, I guess. But yeah, the caller having this effect is solid. So even if you don't have his LD, this effect in itself, assuming you purple the ZX, is already pretty good. Just another pocket HP damage up with ice enchant. His LD call does the attack, and then it enchants the entire party with ice for 3 turns. It also gives attack and brave and weakness damage up. So not only is the party enchanted, they're also getting a weakness damage up modifier. So put this on someone slow and you're good. And the icing on the cake of both of these calls is, since it has debuff start, you're getting a guaranteed 6 turns a pop on each LD call for the debuff. That's 12 turns of HP damage up in total. That can be increased and it goes up and down based on the turns enemy gets, or you can just knock them both down at once if you're not giving the boss turns. And at max, Kurasame's LD debuff goes up to 30%. So 30% HP damage up the entire battle, just on a call. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference between a quick run and a potential dead run and potential success. And I can definitively say that this run has contributed to many successes I've had in JP. It's that ridiculous. This is the best call ability in the game. And they start kind of nerfing some debuff calls after this, and I think it's solely because they forgot how ridiculous debuff start with Kurasame could be. This is not overrated. This is broken. A ridiculous call. Everyone should be getting this, honestly. And his high armor plus is a even split between brave and HP for the party. So he does have HP damage modifiers, and he does have weakness damage up for the party. So this could potentially be useful, but this would also require you to have Kurasame in the team and not as a call, which unless you really want to. I don't think it's the best use of your limited ingots. The new LD, though, we gotta talk about that, is Seifer. Seifer is not getting a rework, and he didn't need one with this LD that he got. This move is super cool for some reason. He really channels his Dio Brando energy, but it's a double split AoE Brave plus HP attack, and it's got a bunch of hits in it. It's a new buff that gives him overflow up, which is very good for Seifer, because when he does a lot of split AoE HP attacks, so overflow up means he has a higher cap, which means he can also take advantage of the HP damage up that he gets when he attacks debuff targets that is coming from this LD buff. That was a really convoluted way of explaining it. He gets HP damage up when he attacks debuff targets as well on his LD buff. Applies a new debuff to him. When this debuff is active and his buff is active and Seifer hits him, then he will delay them by 1 turn. The debuff reduces the enemy brave by 40%. It has a 10% Embrave sap on it, which is nice, and it also reduces their brave gains by 30. So Kadaj reduces them by 50. Seifer reduces them by 30. So all situationally useful. It's something weird to have on a delay character because you don't want them to get many turns when Seifer's in the party because you're going to be pushing them back so much. But when they do get a turn, their brave gains will be reduced. So that's nifty. With this board, Seifer's going to start with this buff and he's going to have debuff start on them as well. So he'll be delaying right off the bat. And then he'll just refresh it with his LD, and he can keep pushing them back for a very, very long time. Seifer is now the best AoE delayer in the game, full stop. Base call is skill 2. He inflicts a generic 40% Embrave down, which is pretty big, also nice to have. The LD call delays one turn, and then it delays another turn because of the debuff being active and Seifer having buff start. I think I forgot to mention that for his base LD, but that also delays one turn by default, so that's also a functional 2-turn delay. And it's going to inflict his debuff, but it also does that regardless because he has debuff start. These are two very good calls actually, just for the delays in general. You can push enemies pretty far back with Seifer, and having that 40% defense down framed is also very, very nice on top of it all. His armor split leans in the HP direction, which makes a lot of sense for Seifer because he's going to be hitting hard due to his debuff modifier, and he's got self HP damage up, so having that higher cap will allow him to take more advantage of his AoEs and stuff, which is very good. Seifer's armor at base is the tactics armor, so the debuff armor, so he has 20% defense down. He's got 40%, I believe, from his additional ability, and then he's got 40% framed on his LD debuff, so he can have a functional 100% defense down in the right condition. So it's a little similar to Garland in that regard, where he's delaying the enemy, and when they're not getting turns, they're also being heavily crippled in terms of their stats. What do I think? Well, I kind of gave it away with my talking and hyping up Kurasame. Kurasame's LD call and just base call, those two combined, best calls in the game, hands down. Still use them on every single fight in JP to this day, unless there's Imperial immunity, which to my knowledge has only happened like once or twice after this point, but otherwise, it's Kurasame LD call all day, every day, forever. I think it's ridiculous. So yeah, great value there. So you don't have Kurasame already, this is this is the banner to go for. Seifer is also pretty fantastic, I think. He's not gonna, he doesn't have hype, but he really having those consistent AoE delays, because he delays on everything now. Every button he presses will delay all the enemies back at least one turn, and if he presses the LD again, he'll send them back 2 turns. His calls, even if you don't have him in the party going forward, are also good for that effect. Can't really go wrong with either of them at this point, especially because we got a ton of delay orbs upcoming in JP. And Seifer, again, even if he outlives his usefulness on his team and you don't feel like investing in his blue, which you don't probably need for him, but having those delays in your pocket, very, 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 very helpful. Something to note about both of these guys, their reruns. Kurasame has only rerun at this point on a paid LD banner. You pay $80, I believe it was US, to potentially get one of 3 LDs on the banner. I think the other LDs were like Galuf and Zidane, I think. So that's messy. So this is definitely the time to pick up Kurasame, because unlike Jack, who reruns a couple times in the future, Kurasame, they knew how broken the debuff is, and they said y'all gonna pay to maybe get it. As for Seifer, he's about to get his crystal level 90 with a rework in JP, so his next rerun is a tuning pass for him where he's getting upgrades. So that's something to consider if you're on the fence about him and you can pass on him. But other than that, yeah, dude. I know there's a lot of Porum hype, and I do plan to deflate that slightly, but honestly, this banner I think is probably the best banner of the month, solely for Kurasame's HP call, HP damage up call, because I've gotten the most use out of that than anything in JP. Right, more than Seifer, more than Porum, more than Warrior Light, more than any of the goofballs this month. Kurasame's, I cannot emphasize enough how much I have abused this call and how I would hope that everyone else can get that LD just so they can use it just like me. So yeah, am I pulling? Yes, I am pulling. I do already have Kurasame, but I want Seifer. 1, because he's Dio. 2, because he's cool, probably because he's Dio. 3, I just kind of like using him in general, and those delays I found very helpful. Something that stands out to me for Seifer especially was Transcendence 4. Nope, wrong. No, right, actually, it was Transcendence 4, where you needed either range or magic because you got blown up by physical, but the orb was ranged, and Seifer kept the bosses under control pretty much the entire battle because he had the AoE range delays on lock, especially if there's multiple range orbs in the future in JP. Seifer can pretty much exist through all of them, so yeah, big thumbs up to Seifer. I am pulling probably just tickets, but definitely something I'm interested in. As for the Lufenia, notably different from the event release, the orb is to delay the enemy and you get a +4. We have so many delay characters: Garland, Aranea. It's just a long list, and these guys, more than likely nobody will let them get a turn. Just delay them and go loose. There's Brave gains somewhere in the fight. They do some other stuff, but nothing you can't handle if you just prevent them from getting turns or naturally Ice Weak. I think in JP I ran Onion Knight, LD Garland, BT Onion Knight, LD Garland, and Seifer, and I did fine. You won't see the mechanics if you just delay them the whole time. If you do let them get turns, I don't know what they do. So your best option really is just to delay infinitely. Godspeed to whoever lets them get turns, because I ain't trying to see it. In GL, who am I going to run? Probably going to run the good old Garland RNA again. And if I get Seifer, I'm going to throw him in as the third. And we're just going to throw Kurasame's LD call up and Jack's call and just cap the entire battle. And it's just going to be glorious. Another breather of a fight, definitely. And that's it. Hope you all enjoyed the clip and found it informative. I do try my best, generally. If you haven't already done so, please like the video, comment what you think and your plans, and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more great content. The full video is linked, so check that out as well. Continue showing love. Good luck, everybody. Peace.